Hi, good morning. Today I will be presenting my mind map on the aspects that I have noticed are involved in teaching and learning. First, I will start on the left side, which is the purple side. I have noticed that learning is actually involved in teaching as well as empathy and something that I called being a power figure, but I will explain this later. First, I will start with the learning aspect. So, mm, the learning aspect, I put it there because I think it's, as I said, a very important part of it. Since you are teaching, you are also learning from your students. You are building up your confidence to teach them things. You have to learn that too. It's not something that everybody has. Also, you have to learn how to make your students cooperate since not everybody is willing to do so. Another important aspect involved in learning how to teach is witnessing and managing events that can be shocking or maybe hazardous. And as a teacher, you are expected to be calm and be the bigger person so you can guide your students and help them remain calm during any given situation. So, then again, that's something you have to learn. It's not something you can read in a book and immediately know how to do. Also, finding a seating arrangement that works can be tricky since you have to know your students first. You have to observe them, see how that affects them, how they interact with each other, and change it up so that they can always be working in groups but still maintaining a good energy in the room. And similarly, identifying ways that students learn better and which activities suit them, which means that not everything will be the same. With every class, every student, everything is very different. So it's a constant process of learning through mistakes and getting better. So constant learning, yeah. The next point I put there is empathy because this is a very humanitarian career, I should say. You have to consider your students' previous knowledge and skill level. I've noticed that a lot of teachers do that. They usually make tests to know, to get a general idea on on, on what level those students are so that they can start teaching and not everyone will feel like they've fallen behind. Observing what students are going through is something that is involved in the teaching environment. Uh, I know there are students that can have some hardships, but in the end, we all have to get through as teachers or students. But that doesn't mean that you cannot have empathy towards them. Uh, Also, slowly helping them to get back on track. As a teacher, you are expected to guide your students so that they can get to the final goal, which is learning the lessons on this course. And yeah, that's it. Also, helping them feel included. As a teacher, you are expected to include everyone and not have any favoritism. So, that's basically what I put in empathy. I feel like it's very clear and I shouldn't explain any further. But the next one is about being a power figure. I previously mentioned that this was a weird concept, if we shall say, but it's mostly because You can be the adult in the room, or sometimes, even if you're amongst adults, you will be the one that's in charge of everything. So, as this figure that they see, you have to inspire them. Well, it's not mandatory, but sometimes when you are really passionate about your work, about teaching, you can inspire them too. And therefore, they will be happier in your class. They will participate more in activities and a lot more things. But the next point is keep calm and assessing issues. This goes hand in hand with what I previously have said in the learning aspect. You need to remain in control of your emotions at every moment. And you also have to have problem solving skills because, as I said, a lot of situations can arise, and sometimes not everything goes as planned. Therefore, you have to be prepared. Also, securing good behavior in class is something that is very important. You have to know how to assess your students and notify them that they are not being in their best behavior and help them correct it. Managing problematic students and confronting them about their bad actions is another important point since, you know, everyone is there to learn, so you cannot mm, derail the session just because somebody is being problematic. You have to assess that and you have to learn how to do it by taking limits into account because as a teacher, you are not a student's parent, but still you are expected to help them learn. So that's a nice point there. Now, on the learning side, it's being responsible, again, empathy, and learning how to learn the aspects that I have noticed. First, participating in class and doing your homework. I mean, it's mandatory. We are students, we are here to learn. So, as the second point says, we should make an effort to learn. Then, knowing the school protocols for dealing with catastrophes is also a must. I know that, for example, here in Jalapa, it's a very calm city, but still, if we are out there on any other type of situation or political climate, if you are there, even as a student and a teacher, you should learn these things. They can be helpful. And this will also take a load off of the teacher. So, organizing time for school, homework, and personal life is another important aspect. Not everything is homework, but then again, not everything is playing. Since you are the one who's in charge of your own learning process, you should, sorry, you should start to learn how to be responsible. Also, you have to be punctual. You should not waste anybody's time. You should be considerate about it. And also taking notes and doing the readings. This kind of falls into the point of making an effort to learn, but in the end, it's all about the work that you put in. And then on the empathy side, I put that teachers are people too. They have their own struggles. I know that us as students can be quite whiny about having a lot of homework, and why yes, we dislike having a lot to do. Still, teachers also have to do the same work. Like every single thing that we put in, they grade it. And it's not only for this class, they also have other classes too. So that's where empathy comes into play as a student. Respecting teachers and the other students is a very big point. Once again, we are in school to learn, not to pick up fights with other people. helping teachers learn from you and acquire more experience on their field. I think that one is pretty clear. Um, as I already have stated, teachers sometimes are still starting how to teach. So as students, it is not a responsibility, but that's why I put it on empathy. It's more of a touching your heart thing where you see that they are still learning and you can help them by giving them feedback so that they can get more practice and therefore teach better. And finally, trusting teachers and their teaching process. I know not everybody is fond of how teachers do things, but in the end, after a long session of planning, that's what they decided that is the best for this class. So we should trust them since their best interest is in us learning and being responsible. Then it's the learning how to learn aspect that I mentioned earlier. So, building a healthy student teacher relationship is learning how to learn point. Why? Because sometimes when you feel like you're not in good terms with a teacher, that can actually affect the way that you learn. So, um, you know, even if little kids are in school, not because they want to, but because they have to be there, it can be quite tricky. So, developing a good relationship like that, even though it's only for professional instances, it's still good. Helping maintain a good learning atmosphere. As a student, you should do that too. We it would be better for us if we avoided issues, as I have already stated. Cooperate with teachers in activities and projects. Yeah, I do have seen a lot of students in my previous classes that they, well, teacher says that we are going to do an activity, they immediately don't like where the activity is going and they shut off participation. But this activity is hard for us to learn, so we shouldn't do that. We should actively participate as much as we can. It's for our own good. Identifying issues with lessons and ask questions to clarify doubts. Yeah, this is on our side. If we do not understand anything, teachers aren't going to automatically know and go over that specific issue. We should raise our voices so that we can learn what they are teaching us. And finally, understanding that teachers are here to guide and help. I know that a lot of students can see teachers as, I said before, opposing power figures. But no, they are there because they'd like to teach us, to help us, so that we can learn to be better people, responsible students, and future future adults, or maybe already adults who will further get better. How to say it? Well, just to be better people in the end. So even if I divided these 2 points, teaching and learning, into different aspects, to me, they are both two sides of the same coin. So, yeah, that's what I think is involved in teaching and learning.